No,
That's not an adequate spacer?
no.
Seems reasonable. What if it's an insulated fence? What if it's an insulated fence?
Good evening, everyone. We have one public hearing tonight. The public hearing before the ZBA of the Town of Sullivan will be held on Thursday, February 10th at 7 o'clock at the Town of Sullivan Office Building to consider the application of Victor Valenson, SBL 9.12-1-3 for a property located at 1441 Route 31 for an area variance to allow a setback of 7/10 feet of the house on one side, required setback, and it will allow a 52-inch chain fence in front of the yard. The above application is open for inspection at the Town of Sullivan Office Building during regular business hours. Persons wishing to prepare at such a hearing may do so by person, attorney, or other representative. Okay. Victor, are you here?
I'm his girlfriend.
Okay.
It's our house together. He's actually working near
Okay.
Albany.
No, that's fine.
He wants to be here. He can be here.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you,
No.
if you need him.
If we have any questions, okay, I think it's pretty straightforward, but we might have some questions. So, we do have a diagram. Do you have a diagram too? Or maybe if you want to just briefly tell the board what your plans are.
What was your name? Just for
Eileen
Eileen.
O'Shaughnessy. So our plan is to just kind of give ourselves our border. So we have our space and they have their space. We are working on a garage. We're repairing that garage, and it's dangerous, and they have their kids that come over, and we just want to make sure that there's a fence there so nobody gets hurt. And I think that's pretty reasonable.
Okay.
On the website, it didn't say that it needed a permit, like everything else does on the website for other things. It specifically says that you need a permit for like remodeling and stuff like that. So we weren't aware that we needed one, so we didn't do it to, be a certain way. We just didn't know that we needed a permit. So.
Okay. So apparently then you started the project and you got a stop order or something? Okay.
That's correct.
So on you need a area variance. So on one side there's a setback. You familiar with on this picture where you need it right on, I guess along the drive, maybe the west side?
When we were drilling, we had it marked a little bit closer to our property, but they kind of pulled, from digging, it kind of moved a little bit. But it's all still in our property. We got it surveyed and.
The code states you must be 1 foot off the line. Correct?
Right. How much of it is installed already, Larry?
Let's say 89%.
Okay. And did you measure it or has it been measured from that property line? So
Well, I measured it off a survey I had
okay.
from their garage alterations.
Another thing too, if you don't mind me speaking, it's so small right there between the barn and his property where his driveway is that it's just hard to be able to get the mower in there to mow. We're working on that garage right there, so to give more space so we can get the tractor in there so we can work on it, it just seems that it would, be a little bit helpful to have it where it's at.
Whereabout is the garage that you're working on?
It's the barn.
It's the frame barn?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
And-
that's awful close to the line.
Well, it's an old barn.
So if I'm reading this right now, so you started putting the fence in, instead of being the 1 foot off, you're 7/10, 3 or 4 inches. Closer, actually, you're probably 4 or 5 inches closer to the property line than what you should be.
I think the real issue is coming straight up in the front yard, right? That's more of an issue than,
Being the 56 inches that you're talking about,
yeah.
I think both of them are 52 inches.
Yeah, it's one continuous fence line, front to rear. The closest it is 7/10 of a foot off the property line. And it goes,
In a minute, yeah, we'll give you a
and
chance.
then it goes to 8/10 of a foot at the rear of the property.
Okay.
So the whole fence needs 3/10 of a foot relief.
Okay. 3/10%. So
Roughly
we're talking 4 inches.
4 inches.
We're talking roughly 4 inches. And also the height, they need
Correct.
4 inches of relief. on
6 inches of relief.
48. It says it's a
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 4 inches of relief.
okay, and that's just from the boy. Because usually you have the house, so you would say from the back corner of the barn. Where do they need to be?
Yeah, that would be
The back corner of the barn to the road. Does the board have any questions? Yeah, if anybody would like to speak for or against this, stand, state your name and your concern or support or whatever. Okay,
Edward Kearney,
say it again now, please.
Edward Kearney, the owner of the house next door.
Yeah.
Her main defense is the kids. It's an unoccupied space. There's no living household there. So therefore her defense is no void. And if she wants to say that, then her barn is unsafe for the kids to even be close to that proximity.
Yeah.
Well, we're actually working towards living there. That's why
You've
we're
been
fixing
doing
the
that
barn
for
up.
2 years.
Like
We're trying to fix the barn up, so, because in order to build a house there, you have to have the barn there. We're trying to fix the barn, make that stable, make it safe. The kids keep coming over, trash keeps blowing over. We have broken bottles in our barn from them. I mean, their dog comes over, they walk their dog over to poop, and we just want our boundary, and we want it safe. So if someone does come over, the barn is not in good condition. So we're trying to fix it up, and we're trying to have our space so we can.
how much feet is there between the barn and the fence right now?
That's roughly about a 5-foot area, the narrowest.
So like you said, you own the property next door now. Is your residence on that property, or?
Yes, sir.
Because it doesn't show on.
I'm at 1447. The driveway that's connecting the property between hers and mine is my driveway.
Yeah. And that's the driveway you use to get to your house.
Yes. Which I plowed and
And right now, is that fence like right on the edge of the driveway, or?
No, it's enough so there's grass, on both sides.
Is there anybody else here to speak in relation to this?
I live across the street.
Okay. You say your name, please.
I'm Larry Farnsworth. I just live straight across the street.
Okay.
So, the fence, if it's only a few inches, I guess I gotta move the fence over. I don't know, but there's probably 4 or 5 feet between the barn. And I can understand them, the barn, I wouldn't want kids running around out there in that barn anyway, myself, or anybody around there, because it's just an accident, maybe an accident waiting to happen. So the
Yeah.
fence, I think, is really a good idea. If it's over on their property, I guess I got to move the fence over 4 inches. That's, from what I can see across the street, they got a foot of grass on the driveway side of his residence. And from there to the barn, I don't know exactly how far, is it 4 or 5 feet, maybe, something like that? So technically speaking, I guess.
Okay.
Look,
But
you
we're-
might did a pretty nice job putting the fence up, it looks good.
And it's a chain link too.
Yeah.
And if we move it 4 feet in, it's just gonna make it harder to mow
Well,
and to get the tractor in there to work on the barn.
Well, theoretically, you would only have to move it 4 inches. What we're talking about
4
here
inches, sorry.
is just moving it 4 inches.
And lowering it.
Or, well, yeah, so we could pass a relief on that.
Right.
Is the property not level? I don't understand the height, like why is it going up? Or is it just
No, it's
even?
flat.
It's just even all across.
It's flat.
They leveled all the way across, it just, at one point, it might be 4 feet, and at other points, it's 62 inches, 52 inches, just the slope of the grade.
Okay.
He just leveled the fence.
This is, the grass is not perfectly
Yeah.
level, so.
The real issue I've got is the front yard.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Does that count this 31 counts as frontage?
Right.
And so they can't come all the way out to the road.
Yeah, the real issue I've got is the fence in the front yard. We don't, generally speaking, allow fences in people's front yards.
Well, you could have a 4-foot fence.
Not in the front yard,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Can you?
4 feet, yep.
Okay.
Is the variance for the height
It's not a
in
problem.
the front yard? Or is it
Height.
limited?
4-inch height excess in the front and side yards.
Yep.
And a 0.3 of a foot offset on the 1 foot requirement.
Is there just a portion though of the height?
Yeah, theoretically, we go up the back of the house. You need from the back of the corner of the house, you can have a 6-foot high fence. So I would assume this is a barn, so you go from the back corner of the barn. You follow me?
Yep.
So we need to give them relief from that back corner to the road.
No, my question though is how much of that stretch from that corner to the road exceeds the height limitation? Do we know, or are we just?
Oh, how many feet we're talking about?
Yeah,
Is it all the way or
100
just?
plus 5 plus 38? so
Yes, yeah,
142.
would we say 143 feet? They would
Right.
need, they would need 4 inches of relief on 143 feet.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a question? Now, when you say the 6 foot in the back of the house, from my understanding of what was written on the town of Sullivan, the back of the house is supposed to be 6 foot, the back horizontal line, 6 foot.
Could be 6 foot.
Sides, 4 foot.
Correct.
So you can't technically judge 6 foot here and then try to shoot a laser across, you know what I'm saying?
I'm
Is
not,
that how I'm following you, or no?
I'm not following you, sorry, no.
It's from the corner of what would be the residence,
Okay,
right?
up
So-
to the road?
If you wanna come up here, maybe it'd be easier if we pointed out, you know.
So if we're using 31 as the front yard, right?
If you go up.
So from the
Yeah,
front
but I
corner of the
think-
house to the back corner of the house would
I
constitute
agree.
side, and then everything beyond would be backyard.
Okay.
So
I guess you gotta use common
from
sense.
the back corner of the house to the front corner of the house, 4 foot is what's code, and then you're allowed up to 6 in the back,
From the back.
right?
I understand now.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I thought it was a horizontal, the back was the back and the side was the side. That's all.
take the conversation of kids and dogs and clutter and all that. Take all that out. Just the structure of the fence. As the neighbor, just the structure of the fence. Do you what's your opinion on, or your complaint or anything on just the structure of the fence as it's sitting there?
If it's a little bit inconvenient for the plowing and all that stuff, the kids and stuff, that's fine for their side, it's fine for me too. If they wanna move back, let's say a foot, I would be 100%, or just line it up with the edge of the barn. I mean, you guys are saying 3-4 foot, it's only like 2 foot, to be honest with you.
Between the barn and the fence.
Yeah.
But your driveway is on the property
It's on
line.
the property line, yeah. I see the stakes, so yeah. I seen when I bought the property, I seen the map. I knew the property line was right there on the edge of the thing. And I seen them putting the fence up and I'm like, no.
I don't know, you know, I just had an issue at my house, the property lines over there, that's all Bushnell property at one time. We've had some serious issues with surveyed lines, I just had mine redone. And my property moved over to the park property about 8 feet.
Oh, wow.
About 8 feet went into the park. And at the other end, it doesn't sit parallel to 31, it sits
Yeah.
like this. And I just had to have,
Surveyor.
Forest,
Super.
Sequent just did the survey job, right?
There's
So,
a
I
lot of
mean,
new technology out there.
these properties
Right.
that are out there, you know, who the hell to say where these lines are actually?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got surveyed, surveyed property, other than when he bought the property from Priors, you know, I don't know. Who the
Well, that
hell
is a
knows?
good point. I mean, like you said, how long ago did you buy the property?
Year and a half.
Okay, and there was points or stakes there.
Original sets, yes. Now
You
the-
probably never had your property
We
surveyed.
did
How long?
when we first bought it,
The
How many
new-
years ago was
New
that?
survey,
Was
the
it
new surveys.
2.5 years ago.
And you are the stakes still there, or the
The
markers?
stakes are good, yep, everything's still there.
Okay, and so then you would agree that you are probably only, 5 or 6 inches off of that line.
No, like
You follow what I'm saying?
Off the.
Property line, that
Yeah.
your fence is only 5 or 6 inches
Yeah.
off.
8 inches.
8
Yeah.
inches.
I have pictures coming in that are, with the stakes and the fence line, so you'll be able to have a visual.
Right, okay.
I have pictures too.
7/10 of an inch,
Well, 2 minutes.
8.4 inches.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, roughly we're talking
And
about.
Would you like to see pictures?
I also want to
No,
note,
I think I'm good.
I just want to note that the surveyor came back out for this survey, and he's marked the chain link fence, and he's denoted the distance off the property line.
Okay,
is.
so we're real accurate.
So he actually set the
Okay.
points.
Okay,
Thank you. I did not know you guys had that. Thank you.
So on the towards 31, you're 8.4 inches off the line. Okay, on the back you're 9.6 inches off the line. So we're really talking almost a rounding error in some respects.
That's why I said 4, just ballpark
Yep.
4.
No, I want to know exactly what it was.
so when this board looks at things, one of the things we look at is how much relief they're asking for. So on the chain, and I hope I'm speaking for everyone here, on the chain link fence, they're allowed 48 inches in the front. They're 4 inches higher, The 4 inches higher, 4 inches on 48, that's about 8%, They're asking for 8% relief, which isn't significant. We probably wouldn't have a problem with that. I think the more issue is, the town does require, a foot where the fence needs to be along the side of the property. And 4 inches is, about a third of that, which is getting to be pretty significant. So this is what we're gonna have to discuss after the meeting and decide what we wanna do.
So 30% variance on the front, a 20% variance on the rear
Relief is what they,
in terms of relief, and then 4 divided by 48. Is 8.3%. One question for me, and we never really got a straight answer on it. The 52 inches, is that from the back corner of the garage out towards 31? Or is it?
It's the entire fence.
It's the entire fence?
no. What do you mean? Oh, the height of it.
Correct.
The entire length of fence,
Well, they're saying at points it might even be more than 42 inches, but
or 50?
52.
52. Sorry.
Is there any issues you have with the height?
Just the location of the
Off the line? you're
the
saying?
height is not really a problem for me.
Okay.
variance off the road. Pulling out of the driveway.
You lost me. You're saying it's too close to the road, you're saying the whole fence?
Yeah, they're about 2.5 feet, maybe 3 feet from the road. I mean, there's borderline plow, I don't even have my mailbox that close.
What is the town rule? How far can you bring it?
But again, the surveyor noted that the start of the fence is at the corner of the property.
Is at the corner of the property. But, and does the town have, can you build a fence right up to?
Up to that front corner of your property. Now, some houses in our town, the center line of their property is in the middle of the road.
Right.
In that case, we have to push it back to whatever the width of the road is.
Yeah, that's something we're gonna have to look at in the new code that we're working on.
Is there any issues too then? That's not a town road. It's not a county road. It's a state highway.
It's a state
highway.
I mean, they wouldn't even come out. I had Senator out there years ago trying to dig a ditch out. He said, I can't do anything with it. I got water this deep in my front yard. They would do nothing. I had to call the state. So, I mean, I don't know, does this have some kind of
It's
an
a state road, state regulation.
Right, so, I mean, that fence could be out to the street.
Not according to the state.
I don't know. I'm just wondering if the state has different rules than yours.
Well, they may,
Yeah,
but we're just a town
Yeah.
with our regulations.
your regulations is not
Now,
state.
the state could come by and say, move it, you're in our easement.
I'm good, I don't have any more
Or
questions.
they,
I don't,
or they could say you can break right to the side of the road.
Water main break that we had last year,
Mhm.
fence is right in the way.
Well, if you get sewer, water, any of those utilities that have to be dug up and it's an easement on, it's not noted, there's no easements noted on here, then if that's the case, then they would give the owner 24 hours notice to temporarily remove the fence, or their excavator will remove it.
It's a misconception and a frustration here. We have a very narrow parameter that we exist in, and so like I mean we're not rewriting constitutional law here. So like yeah, it's too close to we could say it's too close to the road, but they're allowed to be on the property line. So if they have an accurate raised seal survey that says here's their corner, that's outside of our purview. That's not part of the discussion right now. That good-
Just going along with the conversation that's going on.
good, bad, or indifferent. The only thing we have purview on is the 4-inch wiggle of that fence and the 4-inch wiggle of that fence. And that's all there is.
I mean, I'm sorry to see, it's obvious to see that, you know, you guys have had some difficulties. I'm just, you know, moving the fence over 4 inches is quite an expense, and, you know, I feel bad that they might have to do that. I'm just wondering if there's any other compromise, you know, if they left the fence there, or if there was some give and take, you know, if there's anything that would make you happy, if they left the fence where it was, but if she gave up something, I don't know. I'm just thinking outside of the box, because like I said, I understand 4 foot's the law, and you know I almost think we got to enforce it, but in the same breath to spend the thousands of dollars to move it 4 inches is, in my mind, ridiculous. You know, but
To be honest with you, in my eyes, that's not ridiculous, because they should have pulled the permit, they knew that was against the violation. I've had multiple problems with these guys through the past. I've had profanity written on the side of their barn by her. She already admitted to me.
we don't. Let's please not accuse one another of
This
things.
is null and void from everything, but the fact of the matter is, they didn't pull the permit. They're not going by the variations of your guys' town code.
Yep.
It's gotta be moved. And then, like I said, preferably all the way to the barn. If you wanna go to 1 foot, that's fine. It's still 6 inches away. And that would help me better with plowing and I mean, even trimming my driveway. I don't wanna, if I step on their property, next thing you know, we'll be back and forth. Come on,
Speaking of
who's
plowing,
gonna trim the fence?
Last
And
year, another reason why we have a fence there is because last year he kept plowing his snow into our property right up to the barn. So when it melted, it went all the way to our barn and it pushed it.
Again, I don't wanna get accused, I understand, you guys have your problems, I'm sorry about that. Does the board have any other questions? Okay, we're gonna discuss this tonight, we may or may not make a decision tonight, so you're more than welcome to stay for our discussion, or you can call the office in the morning to see how we decided. Okay, the public hearing is closed.
Make a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I can't just close it, it's gotta be done by a motion.
Yep.
I would be an
Especially in front of a trainee, you gotta read the whole line.
That's why he pulled it. Okay.
We do have to complete seeker before, any decision's made, but you can deliberate, before that.
What do we gotta do on seeker?
Just the part two, and
Oh.
negative declaration. It's not pretty straightforward on this one.
Okay.
We can just go through that quickly, but again, it's just the part two, no or small impact on questions 1 through 11, unless the board has any disagreement. If there is no disagreement, the board can make a motion to declare itself lead agency, the application to be unlisted, and issue a negative declaration for seeker purposes.
It's your turn. Days, what?
10. Alright, so you said type 2
Unlisted,
unlisted.
the board's lead agency, and negative declaration for purposes of secret.
Okay. Whether undesirable change would be produced in character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties.
You said the 0.7 tenths of a foot is how many inches? I'm sorry, so it'd be 70% of 12.
No, I've got it right here.
8.4,
Yeah,
so
8.4,
3.6. Yeah,
I would address each separately,
each of those.
each variance.
Yeah.
So just think of it as two separate requests.
3.6
Yeah.
inches of relief is a 30% variance in the front.
Mhm.
It's a 20% variance in the rear,
Sorry about that.
and then it's an 8.3% variance in terms of height.
What's the driving philosophy behind the height, behind the 4 foot? Was it sightlines?
Yeah.
Probably.
I also think you don't want that
Character.
boxed in neighborhood. If everybody had 6 feet in the fence, you know, it'd really,
Right.
you'd really ruin your neighborhood, you know, you may tolerate 4 foot, but.
The front yard fence specifically states that it has to be a 50-50 see-through. So the fence requirement is more of a visual for getting in and out.
Right.
Obviously, otherwise they'd allow you to have a solid fence. But they've got that specifically in there, so
Right.
On the front of the,
on the front
Is that
yard,
just in the lake though? No, it's just in the lake.
front yard fences.
See, in that mindset, the pertaining to the height, the fact that it's a chain link, kind of washes that because we're gonna talk sight lines.
Yeah, visual is not
Yeah, then it becomes a non-factor at that point. That's my mindset on the height.
Another question that didn't come up, why is the driveway right on the property line?
They just got it a year and a half ago, so it predates them.
but I don't know, I don't know if that's uncommon, I would think.
Well, you have an old farmhouse with an old barn with an old, so, you know, good neighbors back then. Oh yeah, go through your driveway.
No permits required.
Probably in the 1890s.
All right. Whether undesirable change will be produced in.
So let's go back. So we're addressing one issue at a time. So what issue are you addressing right now? The height or the distance? You follow me?
All right. Well, the first one listed here is the setback.
Uh-oh.
So the 3/10 of a foot setback.
Okay. All right.
3.5 inches and 2.5 inches. Whether the undesirable change will be produced in character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. I say no. I don't think it's a substantial variance that they're asking for. Not in compared to what we've granted in the past
Well, that's a
with
separate,
building.
Yeah, that's a separate.
that's a separate criteria.
Right.
Throw in, what if I wanna throw something?
The public hearing's over. I'm sorry.
Oh,
So okay. As far as substantial, I think that's a question later on.
Okay.
But just to explain to you, we have a questionnaire that has like 5 questions. That sort of helps us weigh which way to determine on the decision, and it also gives us something to go back on and say this is why the decision was made. So
Okay.
we're going
If you wanted to say undesirable change, you wanted to classify it because it does come all the way out to the road, and it is a random chain link fence. Given that you drive by the front of the park and all that, I guess the answer could be yes
I would say no.
in that context.
I would say no as well.
All right.
So no undesirable change.
To the character of the neighborhood.
Reasons.
4-foot high fences are allowed in the front of the house, in front of houses.
And I don't think 4 inches is a deal breaker.
Are we talking about the height or the setback?
No, we're talking about the setback right at the moment.
Alright, perfect.
But both variances are listed on this sheet, so I gotta fill out something.
Yeah, I don't know how you can write. I guess I would make a notation to each one. Leave a little space, and write down.
Yeah, just do like height and then a dash and then write the reason and then setback and then you can.
I gave this to you because I knew you were capable.
Right inspections all day.
Was the fence professionally installed or did they do it themselves?
Did you have a company install it, or did you do it yourself?
We did it ourselves.
Most fence companies know to pull permits, correct?
Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. No, it's already there.
I would say yes, they can move the fence. Sorry to disagree with everything you say tonight.
All
But
right.
I don't know what.
Yes, they could move the fence, but it's considerable expense.
Yeah.
And is the pain worth the gain, I guess, is the question.
Does that help you any?
No.
Sorry.
Um, I would just say the fence could be moved and, I guess you should say the fence has already been installed and the fence could be moved.
I think too, you could also articulate that there's sufficient space on their property for them to move the fence within the allowed setback.
If we were in the city, they could do it right on the line. I guess the unfortunate bottom line is ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Yeah.
whether the requested variance is substantial.
It's 3 inches on 12, I mean, it's 25%. I guess when we're looking at a foot like that, I guess I think that is substantial. I mean, you can disagree with me.
No, I think it's substantial. It's 20% in the rear and 30% in the front.
We've given more on buildings.
More relief, right?
Mhm.
You're saying like where there's an
We've given a
8
higher
foot,
percentage.
an 8 foot setback to a side property, and they want 2 feet of relief, which is also
We've
25%.
given 6 feet.
Right, but I guess my argument and point is when you're only dealing with a foot, that 25% is more, which makes no sense, you know, versus if you're dealing with 20 feet and you want a 25% relief.
Well, that's why the percentages, that's why I said that we've given more relief, because the percent, I mean, by percentage,
Right,
we've given more relief in the past.
yes,
25%.
I do agree with you.
So that one, the height you're saying is substantial?
No, we're still talking about, we're not talking
The
about
side
the height
yard
yet. We'll let you know
She
when we.
said- Terry said something about the front and the back, so.
Well,
Yeah,
because
no,
It's
Stephen
20%
said we went
in
to
the
setback.
back, and it's 30% on the front.
The fences, yes.
Up
Off the
until
line.
Steve stopped talking, we had been doing height first and then setback, and that's how I'm writing it. But in this particular instance, Steve decided to go right to setbacks. He's hung up on the foot.
So,
I think it's substantial.
and I would agree.
Well, for both.
Yes. No.
I'm still not talking about height.
We're
I'm
still
only saying-
talking side yard setback. We're
Yeah.
talking, Steve and I think it's substantial.
So, I mean, they're requesting a 30%.
Right. Do you have a blank one of these? Because we should almost just fill them out. Because I'm not going to say that an 8% variance on the height is substantial. Which they're both.
I
Thank
got
you.
extras too.
Which they're both listed here,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
we all agree that 8% on the height is not substantial.
correct.
Okay.
You want two, Brian?
Yeah, he's got one for the setback and I'll do
You
one
want
for
two,
the height.
you want two?
I think he's good now.
Yeah, I'm good now.
Okay, so
I just made a cluster out of your paperwork, sorry.
Just make sure I can read it.
All right, if you want to say the variance on the setback is substantial,
if you want to disagree with us, you certainly may.
I do, but I'll put yes on it because it's 2-1.
Well, just so the board's aware, any vote of the board requires 3 votes tonight.
Okay, I was wondering about
Any
that.
vote of the board requires a majority of the board, not just those present, so.
Right.
Okay.
So the whole thing might be a wash until next month anyway.
That's correct. I mean, you could always table your decision. Again, you've got 62 days from the close of the public hearing to
Right.
make any decision.
All right. So setback, we'll say, is it substantial? Yes.
They're asking for 4-inch relief of 12 is what they're asking for. I'm averaging.
And for height, I'm saying no.
Okay.
That's 8.3%.
8%.
Yeah.
That's substantial.
I'm not that familiar with chain link fence because I'm thinking you bought a 4-foot chain link fence. So, you know, is the chain link 6 inches off the ground in places, or is the chain link right at the ground? You know,
No, it's not right at the ground because we left some space so we could mow it.
how much space did you leave?
He would know.
I have pictures.
Okay, yeah, this is something I would like to see. Peter.
Pictures here too. see they're black and white. I have other pictures as well.
I have one, I might like to see, but
Yeah, I might in a minute.
just the snow's on the ground, so it's
See,
kind
you
of.
see right here, we're working on the barn there, so it's just hard to
Yeah. So,
Yeah. the mower in there and stuff. Oh, here's a better picture right there. It's enough to where we can get the weed eater underneath it.
yeah.
It's not like really, it's not all the way up.
And you know what?
It must be useful.
It looks like there's grass between the driveway.
Well, yes, they did say that, correct.
So that'll be an issue too, trying to mow over on the other side.
Okay. You said the snow showed, I was trying to get a good picture of how high off the ground it was.
I have my daughter at the house, I just had her go out there, my phone's in the car, it's dead, but,
Yeah.
I can call him right now, he knows the exact.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
I mean, if you scroll left or right, you'll see a
Yeah,
couple
you
pictures.
can't really tell with that.
Yeah.
Because 4 foot is a common height that towns have, you know, and I'm just looking at this fence that I think no matter what, it would still be a couple inches over. Just weird. You follow me? It seems like it's a weird height. You know, why should it be 2 or 3 inches unless it was raised way off the ground? It looks like they install it as close to the ground as you would, and then, you know, the top rail, actually the fence sticks over the top rail, and it's like, why would it be, you know, it seemed like, you know, wherever you buy the fence, it'd be designed so when you got done, it would be no more than 4. You follow what I'm saying? And I just, a little puzzled by that.
What is the gap between the fence and the ground?
A couple inches. It's only like that so we can run the fence straight.
Yeah, level, you mean?
We can. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think any chain link fence, you'd always put an inch or 2 off the ground.
Sure.
Since you can't use Roundup anymore.
Take these stretches.
Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood?
No environmental issues were identified.
Yep.
It's probably for both of them.
I was just explaining to my 8-year-old to not be embarrassed that he's bad at spelling and that his dad's terrible at spelling. He was like, "You are?" I was like, "Oh
In the
boy."
jeans.
Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created.
Yes.
Yes. In both instances. For both things, I'm writing that, yes, it was self-created, the fence was installed before the permit was requested and the code was defined.
Okay. So, that was the last question, correct?
Yeah.
On the first 2 questions, did we address the height issue or not?
Not yet.
So the first question was what again?
Whether undesirable change would be produced in character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties.
No with I would say no with the 4 inches of height.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. And I said yes, but it's not a determining factor.
Yes or not? I agree. Thank you.
ZBA, after taking into
Can I
consideration.
interrupt you? I just want to know if there's any other thoughts or discussion from the board. And obviously we can vote. I'm sensing that it's not going to be a unanimous decision. We should still just go ahead and vote, or should we table it, or?
If you vote and it's 2-1, then it's basically the equivalent of no decision.
And
Does no decision suspend the application and it just kicks into next month, or does it have to start all over again and they got to refile?
No, it would, you could consider it again at next month's meeting.
even if
There is a time frame by which the board would have to make a decision, otherwise it's a default denial.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't have the applicant like lingering out there without a decision, because there's further rights that an applicant has,
Yep.
you know, to further appeal beyond this board. So you could vote tonight. If it's 2-1, it could be taken up again at next month's meeting.
And is there any advantage one way or the other, versus tabling it and voting?
Well, if you feel like other board members should weigh in on this particular application, you can table it. Mike always has good insight,
Right.
as does Cliff, so. But that's up to the board.
Cliff especially invested in questions down by the lake. I don't know if you didn't care about one over on 31, but
Well, I move that we table this till next month.
I'd second that motion because we're not in alignment.
We're short 2 members tonight. So we have a motion, a second, all in favor until tabling it till next month, signify by saying aye.
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 Do you want a complete seeker? Get that out of the way. I would recommend that.
yep.
It'll take 1 second.
Last
So-
time you said that it took us.
Well, that was a different application. This one, was-
Yeah.
Why do we have to do the seeker here?
because there's 2 variances involved instead of 1. So if there's, the way the statute reads, the type 2 list only considers a single variance for a residential property. So multiple variances for one falls into the unlisted category. So again, part 2, no or small impact on each of those questions. On the short EAF, the board would just make a motion declaring itself lead agency, the action to be unlisted, and issue a negative declaration for purposes of seeker. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be a unanimous vote.
Yes.
So who's the motion?
I'll second.
I'll motion.
Got a motion, a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Question? There gonna be another public hearing with this?
No, I was gonna explain it at the end. The public hearings, unless you can correct me, it's closed. It'll be just the board discussing it. I mean, you can be here. We have 2 members that weren't here. They might have questions, so it probably would be a good idea to be here. Am I correct in saying what I said?
Yeah. You're more, it's a public meeting, so you can come.
Right, but you won't have the opportunity to freely speak. I mean, it's like I said, the hearing is closed.
Thank you.
Is there, you have more questions on that?
Nope.
I was just, okay, I guess that was a simple one.
Okay. So it's tabled.
All right, so, yeah, so it'll be Next month, that's March
March 10th.
March 10th, and the board will discuss it and.
What's that?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
So we'll just leave this all open and just. Minutes from last December.
A motion for acceptance.
Just taking a quick look here.
I did ask if there was any further follow-up from Dollar General, nothing so far.
Yeah, I actually talked to Frank today about something else, and he just said that he just can't believe how laid back, and they're like in no big hurry. You know, they still got to do the road study, and you know, probably they're just going to be put a left-hand turn-in lane in, and no light, and you know, it didn't seem like a big deal. And Dollar General isn't knocking on his door every day saying, "Let's get this done." I mean, most people aren't quite patient. I guess he was a little shocked. And he did say something that maybe they're making the town have a little bit more power to make it look a little nicer, you know, instead of just throwing up a bunch of asphalt and cinder block buildings. I don't know, we talked about it. You're working with them on that. Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor of the minutes as written, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, okay. Now, the reason I did that,
You want to adjourn?
thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I hate to say it,